If you've seen the other content on this channel, you know that I'm a big proponent of buying stuff used instead of new. And this laptop is some of the best proof I have for the outstanding value that you can get when you buy something that's a few years old that was top of the line when it was new. While the performance may only be comparable to some of the value line or even middle of the road stuff today, the quality is almost invariably better. And thanks to the ubiquity of 15-inch laptops in circulation today, the prices for capable machines are at rock bottom. The Lenovo ThinkPad T61p is one of those computers. I'll start by hitting you all with the specifications here and then flow into the design and ergonomics before I tell you what the bottom line is with this thing. If the X200 tablet beat the crap out of my Power Mac G5, then this thing absolutely blows it out of the water. It's equipped with a T9300 2.5 GHz Core 2 Duo, upgraded from the stock T7700, and coupled with a powerful NVIDIA Quadro FX 570M, which itself has 256 megabytes of video memory, powering a beautiful Samsung LCD panel with a mind-boggling 1920 by 1200 resolution. The computer itself gets its own share of 4 gigabytes of DDR2 memory and my trusty Samsung 1 terabyte hard drive. It may not sound like much, but that Samsung is pretty quick on its toes, especially for a 5400 RPM drive. There's also dual-band Intel ABGN Wi-Fi and gigabit Ethernet on board, as well as Bluetooth. Compared to my old N200, the case is stylish, slim, and ergonomic. The additional layer of protection that they have inside of these things adds a certain level of rigidity that really makes you feel like you're using a premium product, even if it does suffer from some fit and finish issues. Open the latch and you'll be greeted by the T61 series' signature weak hinges, which I haven't got around to replacing yet on this unit. Spoiler alert, they're a pain in the ass and they always fail. The good news is that these aren't too far gone yet, so I can kick that can down the road a little bit longer. The keyboard is standard ThinkPad issue, and while it is good, it actually doesn't feel quite as great as my N200's ThinkPad-inspired keyboard did. Again, it's good, but it didn't wow me. Key selection is excellent, complete with multimedia controls and dedicated volume buttons. As far as pointing goes, you get to choose between a track point and an excellent trackpad. The trackpad may look small, and it is, but make no mistake, it is an excellent performer and at least as good as the one on my old N200, although I wouldn't have minded if it had been a little bit wider. Still, it is precise, responsive, smooth, and supports scrolling, so I have no complaints here. Ditto for the track point. This thing also comes with an Authentech something or another fingerprint scanner, which is unlike any laptop fingerprint scanner that I've ever used because I've always struggled to get fingerprint scanners to recognize my print on the first try, but this thing does it with no problems every single time. It's absolutely fantastic. Inside the lid and at the bottom, we have status indicators for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, numlock, caps lock, hard drive usage, power, battery, charging, and standby. The T61p moniker is proudly displayed next to the hinge, inspiring hope for premium performance and a high original price point of over $2,000. Curiously enough, the 15.4-inch Samsung LCD is offset slightly up and to the right. This provides the illusion of a larger screen without a bigger device footprint. Going around the outside of the machine, the front of the computer has minimal connectivity, just the way I like it. The only two things up here deserving of mention are the FireWire port and the wireless switch. On the right side, we have two USB ports, a removable optical drive, precisely where it belongs, and the cover for the hard drive compartment. On the left side, we have one fan exhaust port, a VGA port, gigabit Ethernet, phone jack, microphone and headphone jacks, one lonely sideways USB port, and the express card slot. I'm accustomed to the audio jacks being on the right side, but this is not that huge of a deal. My only real complaint in the connectivity department is the lack of USB ports, but with three, it's at least as good as the Power Mac G5, and when you add the docking station, which I'll cover more here in a little bit, you get even more. On the back, there's a place for a 6 or 9 cell battery, the power jack, and another exhaust outlet. Close the lid of this remarkably thin computer, and you'll find that while the unsatisfying closing snap doesn't exactly inspire confidence in its build quality, The soft-coated back cover partially makes up for this shortcoming. It's on the bottom of the computer where you'll find one of its best-kept secrets, though, and that is the dock connector. The reason why this is one of its best-kept secrets is because the dock connector actually provides additional hidden functionality which can only be fully realized with a docking station. Bonus features include SATA for an external optical drive, PS2, serial, parallel, DVI, digital audio output, and the grand prize, PCI Express. That's not to mention replication of the VGA, analog audio, Ethernet, and telephone jacks, and the supplemental USB connectivity to accommodate for the docking station's generous USB hubs and card reader. To gain access to all this functionality, one would need to purchase the coveted 2503 Advanced Dock, which is considered to be one of the best docking stations in the history of laptop docks. As much as I would love to own one of those, space constraints and the noise issues caused by the built-in cooling fan have turned me off from actually buying one. Instead, I use and recommend the 2504 Advanced Mini Dock, which has almost all the features of the 2503 except for the PCI Express slot, extra optical drive, built-in AC adapter, and card reader. It's also a lot smaller and completely silent in operation. It is worth mentioning that, unlike the X200's Ultra base, neither the 2503 nor the 2504 docks work without power connected. On the plus side, even the less richly equipped 2504 has vastly superior connectivity, grip, and styling compared to the Ultra base, so it's definitely a solid station. As was mentioned in my politically incorrect desk tour earlier this year, I do take full advantage of nearly all its features and appreciate not having to disconnect and reconnect a dozen cables every time I want to work someplace else, so this was definitely a worthwhile investment. Turning to the software side of things, the stock BIOS is decent but has two noteworthy bugs. The first of which is that there is an annoying whitelist that prevents the installation of mini PCI Express cards not endorsed by Lenovo. This doesn't affect me since I'm already happy with the Intel 4965 AGN that the machine came with, but it's not the only issue. The other bug is that upgrading the CPU to a Penryn series on what was originally only a Miron board will work, but yield an error on startup. This can easily be bypassed, but it's an annoying extra step every time you turn on the computer. Thankfully, both of these problems are fixed with the unofficial Middleton BIOS provided free of charge on the forums. This was the first thing I did to my T61p on purchase, and it was well worth the minimal amount of effort that was required to install it. The only thing that this doesn't fix is the computer's lack of ability to disable panel stretch for non-native resolutions, but this isn't a huge problem since your operating system will be working at the native resolution most of the time anyway, and for games and whatnot that don't support the native resolution and aspect ratio, the display driver is smart enough to at least crop the image so that it is in the correct aspect ratio, making this a very minimal complaint. The setup screen otherwise provides excellent control over the various options of the hardware and follows standard ThinkPad issue layout. The post and startup process is fairly snappy, probably even quicker than on my X200, so there's no complaint here. One other feature about the Middleton BIOS that I forgot to mention is that it also enables proper SATA 2 support. While lack of SATA 2 isn't generally an issue for most disk drives, it does present a bit of a handicap for solid-state drives, which can easily max out a SATA 1 bus. So, once again, the Middleton BIOS is highly recommended for this and other ThinkPad models from the time period. No matter what kind of drive you use, however, this computer will run Windows XP, Vista, and 7 with absolutely no problems and full driver support from Lenovo. Windows 8, 8.1, and 10 can also run, but a bit more effort is required for full functionality. Honestly, this topic in and of itself is so vast that it'll probably take an entire video just to cover, but the long and short of it is that Windows 10 can and does run with a moderate amount of effort, and the display scaling options that this opens up for the computer's high-density LCD ultimately make doing so well worth it. As far as performance goes, it's not going to benchmark with the fanciest modern computers, but compared to other circa 2008 machines, it's definitely close to the top, and it feels as quick today as it did back then. It absolutely tears through the modern bloated web, even with a multitude of tabs open, and multitasks exceedingly smoothly. The NVIDIA Quadro gives it the perfect boost of graphical performance to really make things fly for day-to-day stuff. Even some light gaming is possible, and I can say with some degree of certainty that this machine will run the Stanley Parable at moderate specs with hardly any slowdown. Multiple monitors are limited by the GPU to two, but this machine will handle a USB display link adapter to give you a little extra workspace if needed. With all that said, the T61p is an interesting combination of design choices. The hardware combines top-notch performance with a gorgeous display and pleasantly thin case design. The keyboard and pointing devices are quite decent, and the value-added features like the fingerprint scanner, digital audio, digital video, and all the other unique goodies that can be broken out via the docking station make this computer stand out almost in a league of its own. If you can live with just 3 USB ports, hinges that tend to prematurely break down, and a less than premium feeling latching mechanism, those things really represent a very small price to pay for what is really an excellent computer. In fact, this is easily my nominee for Used Computer of the Year, and I can say that it is still highly recommended, especially now that the prices are so low. And with that, I thank you for watching the all-new Channel 2012, and hope you'll join me for the next video.